Do you want to know how to talk to your child about internet safety? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. Internet is a big part of our lives, for our children too. We need to prepare them. In this video, that is what we're talking about. In this video, we're going to talk about why it's so important that we have conversations with our children about internet safety. We're going to talk about how to have these conversations with our children, and then also what you can do to correct problems if you're noticing that you might be having an internet issue at your house. I think that almost all parents are aware that the porn industry is really targeting younger and younger populations all the time, and they are hoping that their children will be able to steer clear of it. Devices come with all kinds of abilities for filters and parental surveillance. There still seems to be bad content that comes through and exposes our children to things that we wish they would not have to process at such young ages. The other day, I happened to be talking to a person in my area about her child's school, and she said how frustrated she was that the computer that they had given the child at school, the Chromebook, came with YouTube on it and these databases that were installed by the school that have all of this illicit content on it. And she couldn't believe this. The school was giving her children something that she would never allow them to see, and that she was now going to have to do damage control for what the children experienced at school. So our children are not just seeing things on those few little items that slip through the filters on the devices in our homes, but they might be seeing it at school. They might be seeing stuff on friends' devices. They might be seeing stuff at the mall, at the airport, wherever they happen to be. There is internet everywhere, and it's just so easy to be targeted and to be exploited, especially when you are a child. So what can we do about it? How can we prepare them? This is the world we live in. What do? Do we just take it all away, or is there something else that we can do instead? Now, if you have already subscribed to this channel, then you know that everything here is about self-government, about self-control, about monitoring and regulating yourself, directing yourself, and teaching children how to do that. But I am very open about the fact that children do not come hardwired for self-control. It is something that needs to be trained. So we have to set up an environment where our children know certain things. In fact, there are 4 basic skills of self-government. I'm not going to go into detail on them, but these 4 basic skills and the skill sets attached to them actually help a person when they see something that they shouldn't online, or in an effort to be safe when they are using the internet. Those 4 basic skills are following instructions. Think about that. If you've given instruction, or they've given themselves instruction about what they will or won't see, then they can follow through with that, especially if you have a safety plan for them, which we're going to talk about. The second skill is accepting no answers or criticism. Well, they're going to have to give themselves no if they come across something, or if somebody else tries to show them something, they might have to give a no answer to them, and they're going to have to accept no answers from you and filters and other things in order to keep themselves safe. And then accepting consequences. If they do see something, now all of a sudden they've got this picture or this idea lodged into their mind, and now they have to accept the consequence of that. They might have to deal with it for who knows how long. Or maybe your system has consequences attached to it, that if they are looking at things, there's going to be negative consequences. They might need to use that skill for that too. Then there's also disagreeing appropriately. That's one of our 4 basic skills. Probably in this situation, it's going to be the most useful when you're having a conversation about technology or about the internet, and your children can use that skill to disagree appropriately with you about things that they might feel concerned about, or they maybe feel like they initially cannot agree with. So those 4 basic skills are going to be powerful. They're going to be so helpful, and you can find out lots of information about them in other videos here on this site. In fact, there is a video link right in the description of this video that you can go to that will take you to more information about those 4 basic skills. So let's talk about how to set up an environment where you can have a conversation with your child about the internet, about safety, and hopefully help them get a little bit of a buy-in, and what type of parameters you might consider setting up to keep your children safe, and then what you can do if you've had a problem as well. So when you have a conversation with your child, you want to make sure that it's not anything that feels tense or nervous or anything like that. Make sure you feel comfortable and you talk about this problem or this issue very matter-of-factly. This is part of the society that we live in. We shouldn't be afraid of it. So any fear should not be present in the conversation, and there should be no condemnation either. If a child accidentally has seen something, we deal with that, but we don't necessarily condemn. There's really no point in that. We want our children to be open with us about the things they might happen to encounter online, just in case they do happen to come across something, which could happen to almost anyone. So in your conversation, when you're talking about the internet or digital devices, I usually use the analogy of a tool versus a toy. So I have an entire training on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. It's a 7-hour training, and it is called Parenting in a Tech Sexual World. Definitely go and look for that at teachingselfgovernment.com. But in there, I discuss this concept of a tool versus a toy. I also talk about a skill set that parents can teach their children so that they stay safe on the internet. So when we think of the internet or digital devices, we need to remember what they were originally designed for. They're originally designed for people to be able to have additional tools to help them work better, faster, be able to get things moving in business a lot more. So that's really what they're for. They're to help us in our daily life. They are not to distract us, hurt us, or simply entertain us. Now, of course, the internet does provide some entertainment, no doubt about it, but that's not really what the purpose is, and shouldn't probably be presented as the purpose to children. Hopefully, if your child has a device of some sort you're using, like a Troomy phone or a Gab phone or an old style flip phone that doesn't have any data on it or something like that, if you're using phones for your children, I think it's so great how many parents now are just saying, no, we're not doing that, we're pulling away. And I'm cheering from the backgrounds, because my children did not have any devices that they were able to use until they hit 16 years old. Then we had a kid phone. It was an old style flip phone. And you know what? They were just fine. In fact, many of them do tons of high-tech computer work for their jobs, and they didn't miss one thing. In fact, some of them, even for teaching self-government, they did site management and content management and all kinds of things, social media stuff, all that. And they didn't have those skills developed when they were children. And that's, it doesn't even matter, because it all changes so fast anyway. When you talk with your children, say, okay, so this internet or this phone, this is supposed to be a tool, not a toy. So let's pretend this was a power saw of some sort. Would I just be flipping out that power saw, showing it to other people, and just bzzz, turning it on all the time and, having it be right there in my face? No. If it's a power saw, I'm going to have respect for this thing. There's a case that it goes in. I only use it when absolutely necessary. I tell myself these are the parameters for how I'm going to use that circular saw. I do the same thing with my phone and with my devices. I make sure I always use them in public. I make sure that mom and dad have to sign me in to the computers, and the password is long, right? So that they could never guess it, like a whole sentence without spaces, okay? They are supposed to be held accountable for any of their time on the devices. But you also need to pre-teach them for when they might see things from other people's devices. Hopefully the buy-in has been strong enough that they know that all of this stuff is for their good, so that they don't have to be held in bondage to this. I've told my children, this device, this phone, either, here's my phone, This device, this phone, either it controls you or you control it. I don't want you to be able to use one of these things unless you have enough self-government and enough power to be able to control it. And if you ever are using something like this, I want you to be prepared to have complete control over the device so that it doesn't take control over you. That's the way I phrased it to my children, and they really understood. That's true, Mom. And then we would have conversations about other people that we saw around. Not like back talking, but just observation. And my children would say to me, Mom, I'm so glad that I'm not just addicted to that screen, but that I can do something else. Some of my friends can't talk about anything else, Mom. I wish they could, they would say. So what do you do if your child already has a problem with the internet or with technology and addiction? It is important that you remove that from them. They need to have time without it. I talk about exactly how to do that in my training, Parenting in a Tech Sexual World. You'll probably need also some of the other skills and principles of self-government. You can find all of these things at teachingselfgovernment.com.